Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today is a great day. We are going to be finally giving you the answers from the King's Guard on the state of the game, state of the union for Call of Dragons, and give you the answers that you, I'm sure, have been waiting to hear and you'd love to hear from the King's Guard. Now, a quick TLDR, who and what is the King's Guard? Well, the King's Guard is a private group that I have on my Discord, which is a collection of top and active alliances across the entire game from Season 2 and beyond. At the moment, we have 123 alliances that represent, I think it's over 100 kingdoms. So there's a lot. Now, the answers we ended up getting from them is on a number of questions. So I'm going to go through at least some of these right now for those of you that are curious. And of course, if you're interested in joining the King's Guard and you're in a top and active or active alliance from Season 2 and beyond, feel free to reach out to me on Discord. Would be happy to talk to you and see if your group is eligible to get access. So let's go over what are the questions that we actually asked the King's Guard before we do officially start. So questions we asked them are ones about KVK. We asked about PvP, I think is the next one. War and PvP questions. We have Home Kingdom and Migration questions. We asked PvE and Behemoth questions, Alliance-based questions, Roots of War questions, and then we have a general section at the end. We ended up getting 84 responses, so 2/3 of the people that replied of the King's Guard. Cannot thank you enough. For those of you that, again, had the time availability, you were around and able to fill it out, I really cannot thank you enough. It means a lot, and the fact that we ended up getting that many responses on the first questionnaire, to me, I'm going to take that as a win. Even if I may have been hoping or expecting for 100 responses, we were still pretty close to that for the first questionnaire. Now, as always, before we get started, if you enjoy the content, make sure you give us up because it helps out a lot. So, this to me, I think, is a really big thing, and I don't know if I can really put this into appropriate perspective for those of you that are watching this. This is something that, in my opinion, has never been done before, or I should even just say to my knowledge, across any kingdom builder, where we've collected this many individuals that represent essentially up to all of the strongest alliances, the strongest players, and the players that spend the most amount of money in the game. This is truly a feat of its in and of its own, and the fact that we were just able to get to at least where we are now is amazing. And I can only applaud those people who, one, were willing to reach out to me and to join the King's Guard, and two, for the opportunity to make something like this happen and to share your feedback and your words with the community. Along with, I will be also passing this along to the CoD team, which will most likely be the CC team, and then hopefully, if there's an opportunity right there, they may pass it over to the team, devs, etc. So let's first start off with giving shout-outs and credit where it's due for those that, again, were able to have the time to fill this out. So I'm just going to go through the list. I'm not going to read off everyone's name, but I do want to make sure that everyone's name is shown. So I'll kind of go through this lickety-splitish, quickishness. But again, just want to make sure everyone gets a name in, and I think we're there, and then we'll go, that was shall, and then battle. Awesome, so that's everyone. Now we'll go down to alliances, and I want to make sure we give all the alliances so you can see the diversity of power for those that are filling this out. Because I think it's important so that way you, if you're the viewer, you have a good understanding of that. It's not just people that are like, oh yeah, people are just, there's 3 bill, 4 or 5 bill filling this out. No, these are some of the strongest alliances in the game, along with alliances throughout different seasons. So it also gives us the opportunity to share different perspectives with those of you watching, where it's not just people that are only from one season or another. Okay, getting into the meat of it all. How do you feel about the length of a KVK season? Too long. Oh, I should also state as well that I will be making this sheet public. Probably should have said that in the very beginning, but I will be making this sheet public to anyone that wants to view it 24 hours after this video is up. And I'll have a link to this sheet on my Discord. So, and it's going to be on the COD data stats. So for those of you that are curious, if you go to reaction rolls and you go to Call of Dragons here, I'm going to put it on the, not here, let's go to, I'm just clicking on random things now. Let's go here. So I'll probably put it here as like temporary, something like that. So how do you feel about the length of a KVK season? Too long, about right. After the dragon phase, it's boring. Should swap dragon and magma, please. If it's not bad, not satisfied. Now I'm not going to read all of these. I should state as well. But we're going to show you as many as a decent amount. Slightly too long. It's as good as it is. It seems okay, but the time in between zones is sometimes excessively long, which is pretty appropriate. I mean, we've seen that where sometimes you're filling out a zone and you've built territory, but then you're still waiting a number of days until the next zone opens for some PvP, just depending on the season, of course. It feels about right, although the endings can get boring during waits. Too short, only allows for only combat rotation before prep. For the new zone, the end of the season after the Augur Stone is complete is too long, though. Longer mid-game, shorter post-game. The length of the season is very long. It definitely depends on who you are matched with to feel boredom, but generally the beginning of the season drags along until Zone 3, Zone 4 opens. Too short. However, when Home Kingdoms become active, it's just right. Then when there's no war, we have time to hibernate 3 times. Things feel very rushed and fast and furious early in the season, but seem to drag heavily as the season gets closer to its end. Probably need to shorten a little bit. There is too much dead time waiting between major activities where player retention tends to be an issue or puts excess strain on leadership to keep players entertained. It feels too long for the amount of alliances involved. The space on the map is not being utilized in full. Pretty good, to be honest. I actually don't know how long it is, but feel like it's a bit too long. I feel that in the current KVK format that you barely fight till last zone. It is too long. It depends on the matchup. Too long. I don't understand the question. How dare you answer that? Remember, if you guys don't understand the question, just ask. Just reach out to your boy. I'll let you know. It's okay. Too long, slightly longer than it needs to be. It really feels too long, especially Zone 1. Could be a little shorter. Should be shorter once the final battles are done. The season tends to drag out for the last 3 to 4 weeks. This last one will do the waiting time between Season Pass and Augur Stone and in the new season is too long, a little bit too long. I think it's too long. I would like to see it shortened quicker to resolving the season and getting on to the next opponent. Total length of the season is good, but the segments it's split up in is too short for my taste. Some segments are too long. For example, Zone 2 was far too long while Zone 3 was good, and then the evasion of the other zones between Pass 3 and Pass 4 was only 4 days, which made the last zone last far too long. It needs to be 15 to 20 days shorter. Okay, let's go to the next question, which is titled, how long should a KVK season be? Right. So this is kind of you'll notice that some questions kind of lead into one another or are connected in some ways. How long should it be? Here we go. So the overwhelming majority is leave it as is. This is 25% or 21 of the votes. Second most is we should go down to 60 days. And then, which is at 21% of the vote. And then 18% of the vote is we should go to 50 days. So I just want to point out that this is interesting. Why? Because the latest updates that we got for the shortening of KVK has gone to 50 days, right? It previously was around 75 days, give or take, and now it's gone down to 50 days, essentially cutting it by a third. And you can see here that if you were to combine these two, you're at almost 40%, which are basically advocating for a shorter season. And then you end up having this one, which is 45 days. That's 8% of the vote at 45 days. You even had one here, which is, okay, so one said 75 days. One said 40, 35, 30, right? So you can kind of see like this side of it, which probably makes up over 50%, right, is basically advocating for a shorter season. So the data here lines up with that, even if the overwhelming majority is not specifically 50 days. It is interesting to see that. Then let's get into the next one, which is how would you like to see matchmaking be done or tried out if different than the current system or than current system for kingdoms? Keep in mind that cross-season migration will eventually be coming. I should have said same-season migration, so it's my fault. So this is a little clearer, right? We have top-down, so keep it as is, which is a mix of top, middle, and lower-powered kingdoms. That received 48% of the vote. And then we got 33% of the vote, which was top-down. And top-down is basically where you would go like 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, 13 through 16, right, etc. that you would expand it into. Some other answers we got is mix, and I want to point out one of the things we added on a lot of these questions was the other option, so players could potentially suggest their own options. Here we have mix alliances that haven't been together, like TFS and BDO. Keep it as is and adjust as needed when global migration opens. 10 billion power and up must be a match. 9 billion power and below must be matched. as it is for most, but a championship KVK where strongest 6 alliances based on could match up in a fight would be interesting to watch. Oh, 100%. I think that's a really good idea. Top with top, middle with middle, low with low. Everyone can compete with their own strength. What's this one? Can I view this one? Based on, I don't know how to get this. Can I get this? Based on, it's not showing. Oh, never mind. It just, that was it. Based on productivity. Match servers, power based off the top 200 players off the server. I mean, I think they do it probably more than that. I am leaning towards the keep it as is with a few tweaks. Top with top, mid with mid, and smaller kingdoms can be put in those. Example, you have the top 10 kingdoms, you bring 2 to 3 in the same one, then mid-size from 11 through 40, where 2 to 4 get paired, or something similar to this. Power-wise, currently small kingdom always faces whale kingdom, which is totally unfair. Top-down, but possibly mixed in with a win rate, MMR, so low-powered kingdoms that consistently win their matches and get challenging matches too. Okay. Matchmaking is mostly a double-edged sword, as top-down would mean that there would be completely inactive KVKs that would be bored out from farming for a whole season, which would cause players to leave, whilst the KVK mix system leaves some alliances to be stomped by full T5s. I still think mixing is better because it lets players try to join bigger alliances to fight more and generally have more fun, with some that want to step down for a season that can join slightly weaker alliances. So interesting. I actually would love to talk about that maybe at a later point. Definitely include smaller power kingdoms. So one of the options I didn't actually provide here that I thought about later is doing a mix of this. So basically a mix of doing mixed KVK, and then the next season you do a top-down KVK, and then you just rotate, like top-down, mix, top-down, mix. So this way you get, in my opinion, I think you get a nice kind of healthy medium of you get to see the matchups that you really want to see, and then you also kind of get these like breather seasons, if you will, where you can still have some fighting, but they just may not necessarily be as action-packed as when you do like the top-down, where you have the best of the best truly getting matched up against each other all the time. But yeah, so interesting to see that. So here we go. What are the strengths and opportunities, likes and dislikes with the current matchmaking system? And this gives the players, the reps, an opportunity to explain that. So some divisions has 3 big alliances and it forces a 2v1, which isn't fair. I think we saw that last season. We've probably seen that, to be fair, a couple of seasons. Opportunity. We get matched with the same alliances, but want other ones we've never matched with, like POTC hasn't been matched with our friends from TFS or FS. Most of the time, it's unbalanced. You need to take into consideration who's already allied family. Hopefully, new KVKs will help with this. It's just not more the 2 major alliance sides that fight, and that makes the matchmaking really predictable and eventually boring because we know the outcoming, and in case of the sides win at early stage, we got dead season. Okay. Excuse me. Not enough big alliances facing each other. Unfair for many servers. Join bigger alliances and grow faster with them. It works, but can be a little unfair to smaller alliances who want to be competitive but can't be. Strengths are that it keeps things different now, each time, and prevents monotony or being dominated by one alliance multiple seasons in a row. Opportunities are that is no way to get to a server if you missed a migration. I know it's changing, that matchmaking is not always fair and sometimes can lead to a boring season. And finally, the most important is that with sometimes just a few major teams in a server, it makes it boring, as opposed to S1, or Season 1, where there were major players all over the board and not just 2 big kingdoms against each other. The chance to face strong enemies and having fun wars. Clans with low power must not be mixed with high power clans. It kills the fun. Our pool is quite small to the point we know everyone in most of the top alliances are friends, making agreements and diminishing content. 150 to 300 mil power difference is huge. 15 to 30 million T5 troops take into account when matchmaking. Please. Smaller alliances like us are forced to either ally or merge with bigger alliances. It would be a really fun season if the game actually matched us with servers all around the same power as everyone, so there's an equal chance of winning. I mean, you heard it there from a smaller powered alliance. And what have I been saying for a very long time now, which is that having some diversity in that, and personally, I'm just in favor of a top-down. But I would settle if they tested out the system and they said, let's try this. Let's try doing a top-down, and then let's do a mixed. Let's do a top-down, let's do a mixed, and just rotate that and just see how it plays out, right, across 2, 3, or 4 seasons. And you can always make adjustments, as is. But yeah, I'm still very much I'm always going to be more in favor of a top-down than a mix, because I just think there's a lot more pros than there are cons. Where are we going now? Smaller alliances, yeah. Some KVK groups are for multiple seasons now. We don't want to fight same people over and over. Need new alliances to fight and make friends with. Yeah, I mean, that's just expanding the KVK pools. Season 1 to Season 2 matchmaking is boring. Top down is boring. It's not top down, though. So not equal, as there's not the same amount of whales in a server. And in the next one, Season 2 and more, the lower alliances have no choice but to choose side. Oh, I wonder if he means top down, as in like because the kingdoms are closely paired to each other. So maybe it's that. Hard to say, as the game trying to keep things even can be thrown away by people making overpowered unions. All the matchmaking in the world can't save a server block at the very top of kills just ally. This is actually an excellent point. It's something we should probably talk about at a later time, but it is actually an excellent view. I believe more players would continue to be engaged within the game if it afforded more opportunity for players to thrive based on their own play pay brackets. Most seasons are dominated by 2 to 3 major alliances, which prevents like-minded players from building a competitive experience without adhering to the merge or die philosophy imposed by much larger groups. Again, this really is such a good view, whoever wrote this. And again, not to say like anyone's view over another is better or poor, but I just wanted to point, this to me is something that sticks out, very similar to the lower powered alliance that most likely wrote that previous post, is that, I mean, this is just spot on. This is something that happens, and this is why it's really important to have a good understanding of how you should go about KVK matchmaking, because regardless of what anyone thinks, the fact is that when you do a mixed KVK, you are already alienating anyone who is not the top alliances or close to them in power, which is basically the low alliances without a doubt, and arguably either all of the middle, or we should say up to the mid-powered alliances. Compared to, this is the thing that people have to understand. If you want to have a competitive season all around, you have to give alliances and players the belief that they can actually win. And the fact is that for low and mid-powered alliances, when they're getting paired with top or high-powered alliances, they will never have that belief truly that their individual contributions can really, truly factor as much as the top alliances. Why? Because there's a gap in power. But if you pair mid-powered alliances with other mid-powered alliances, just like if you pair other low-powered alliances with low-powered alliances in KVK, guess what? Now more people think that they have a chance to win. So what do you think they're more likely to do? Fight or not fight? Well, the former, right? They're more likely to fight than not. And that doesn't mean that every single player is all of a sudden going to come out of the woodworks, but you're going to get a lot more engagement and a lot more participation because these people feel that they have an opportunity to win, or at least an opportunity to contest, compared to, right, the other, which is a mixed group. I mean, there's you have to really almost look at this from like a psychological perspective on like how an individual thinks on valuing whether or not they're going to go out there and fight, and what are those factors that play into that. The matchmaking system in concept is fair. It provides opportunities for an equal matchup. However, many alliances abuse diplomacy to turn a whole server against a single alliance, making the matchup uneven and against the developer's vision. The difference of power between the servers that were matched, I think it's fine where it's at now, just more server merge. Like being able to play with long-term allies, dislike being forced to face the same alliances every time. Strength can meet great allies, new recruits, but the problem is you can't keep the new recruits as your server is already full. It doesn't allow weaker kingdoms to fight exclusively with each other in a matchmaking seed. All players funnel into super servers they match with, more or less. You meet all top players, all top and low servers, but it's getting hard to get a win if you're not in that top percentile. I mean, again, good points, right? In COD, we don't have KVK for now, so I can't answer question properly. Everyone that's in this survey should already, unless they just started their KVK. That could be maybe why, because some of the Season 2 people we reached out to were just starting it, so they probably haven't played a full KVK yet. More power and variable map to make each other fight in early zones. Currently gives an opportunity for players to seek stronger alliance. Every season is power imbalance because one side is a landslide of power and typically free season win. Ooh, man, I love when they take time to format. Strengths. Community, do they even give not? Oh, opportunities. Okay, good. It's right there. Community building allows us to meet new players in different servers, engage with them, and potentially form new bonds. Opportunities. Lack of transparency. Providing more transparency about how matches are made and how rankings are determined can improve player satisfaction. 100% agreed. Progressive difficulty. As players improve, we hope matchmaking can help with encountering progressively stronger opponents, which helps maintain the game's challenge. The dynamic adjustment keeps the game engaging over time. Strength is that there's lots of opportunities in diplomacy on how you want things to be. Weakness is that the lower powered alliances are never going to get good rewards, and it is difficult to build up a reputation for them because lower powered alliances lose players to bigger alliances and are always said to be carried by the bigger alliances. I don't know if they're always said, but I understand the point, and I get where this person is coming from. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Again, I don't want to. This is going to be a long video, right? I should state, but I don't want to kind of exacerbate it too much. How do you feel about the defensive turtling at choke points that is becoming more and more utilized season after season? This is actually kind of nice to see. I think I really wasn't sure what I was expecting on this one when I asked it, but I was curious to see, did people feel like, hey, it's a little rough, right? So this was scaled 0 to 10 or 1 to 10. 1 being like it sucks, we don't really like it too much. 10 being we do like it. From here, you can see that the majority of the responses are kind of at 5 and below. If you want to work 6 in, you could, right? Saying like, 6 is still kind of 50-50, so to speak, 5 and 6 being that. But again, then you have 4, right? So it's like, what is this? 30, 40, 47. And then on the higher end, it's 37, 45, 47. Oh, wow. Is that right? 47? Can I count? I bet you I didn't. I bet you it's 37, huh? I counted that wrong. 20. It is 37, yeah. So it's 10 more that voted on 5 or less for that. So it's, again, it's still more or less kind of 50-50, even if it's leaning a little bit more to like, hey, maybe it's not, all there, right, for as heavy as it has been. Let's move to the next one. What areas of the map do you enjoy fighting the most in? And so you see overwhelmingly 63% of the vote is open field, which is wide open space, right? 63%. And then we have 21%, which is fighting in choke points, bridges, ramps, mountains, etc. However, we also gave the opportunity for people to provide their own. So we'll read a couple. Someone said gates and passes. Someone said all. I like the mixture, but gate passes would be at least favorite due to the heavy permanent loss and fall from deaths. Yeah. Choke points are fine if utilized better. With Tamaris, the choke point at Dragon killed the game, but some are okay. Choke and open field. Anywhere other than gates and passes I enjoy. So funny. Choke points in the zones that are closest to your starting zone, but Dragon Zone more open, so it can be contested all season. Okay. Mix of open field because it's fun to see the huge lines of legions spanning the map, and choke points because the multiple ways you can play into them depending on what it is. And I strongly dislike pass fight because the existence of troop death and usually being a rally versus pass defense scenario. Let me see. This one is medium-sized choke points, no small bridges, plus open field. Okay, so it's like some variants in there. But I think this is pretty clear, right? The fact is that there is an overwhelming, I don't know if I say overwhelming, I want to say the majority of feeling on this is that we would rather like to see more open field fighting. I think that's pretty consistent with what we've been hearing, but it doesn't mean that we want choke points to be eliminated. I think it's just having a healthier mix. And if we look at an example of the latest Bellerin Season 2, or SB2, as we're aptly calling it, we notice that in the final zone, on the interior, past the level 5 passes, I think it is, right, they did make adjustments. And I will say that the SB2 map for final zone is probably my favorite map design for final zone on the Bellerin map, because I think it really offers a healthy mix of a little bit more open field than choke point focus. And so I actually like the design, at least. And I also want to point out that I like the fact that CoD is willing to test things. I like the fact that they're willing to take some risks and to test different map designs, and hopefully doing it in a way where they're like, hey, we're going to test this and we want to really hear what you have to say. And I almost feel like if they were just more open and public about that, it would come off a lot better, instead of like, oh, right, we're just going to find out the map when it comes, but there's like no kind of like cliff notes or no entry point where it's like, hey, we want to give you a little synopsis here about what our thought process is and what our design thoughts are going into a new season's map design, and we're looking forward to you providing feedback throughout the season and at the end. Like, to me, that's a very easy thing that just would change the entire dynamic of how the community would view it compared to, oh, we just find out when the map is released and then everyone's kind of giving their thoughts. Just a side note. Next one is anything you would change regarding buildable structures on the field aside from flags and forts during war, i.e. turrets, keeps, barricades, resource pits, etc. So we have here almost 41% of the vote is amounts are fine as is. Then we have 19% is increase the amount, 14% is decrease the amount. Now this is interesting to me because my initial view, and part of me feels like maybe I should have just said turrets and barricades because there's not obviously that many keeps and there's not that many resource pits. So I when I think about this now, my thought is maybe I should have been a little bit more specific because I really wanted to see what people thought about the structures that you can build the most of. And in this case, that is just turrets and barricades. So I think it is my own fault because with resource pits, obviously you can't build a lot of them. And the same thing with keeps. You can build a little bit more, but you still can't build a lot of keeps. So, yeah, I feel like this is my own downside on this one. But, right, because it's one of those things where, like, you could have people that are saying the amount is fine or people saying increase the amount, right, just because I simply kept these in. And so now that I'm thinking about it, it was my own fault for that. But if anybody still wants to expand on that, please feel free. Then we end up having the next one here, which is what is one tip or piece of advice that made a big positive impact on your alliance during the season? So just kick the drama queens. Have fun and play like you want to play. Other alliances don't play for fun, and I was actually made fun of by prior Lion players in NCS this season being a female player. That is harassment, and I play the game to get away from crap like that. It's my money I spend, so I will play how I want. Not sure. Can't think right now. Sorry, damn it, you guys. Care for your members' feelings and lick right players to lead. You have to lick them? I'm sure it's just a typo. Together with you. Keep town hall meetings and hear them, give them plan, motivate them. Okay, nice. Get the credit card. Become a team, not a hierarchy. Never think you've won till it's over. The most important asset is keeping the players active through boring times so activity can be promoted when fighting happens. Always focus on the goal. Follow our 4 orders, give advices if possible, and work together as one. Together we are stronger. Do not research fortifications beyond level 1. I hate this, please. Devs make engineering for towers scale off this research so there is not a longer time to build. To always try and keep members engaged. However, things get pretty repetitive. Thank God I found some water. Repetitive and gets boring. Fight to have fun, win or lose, and give it everything you've got. Enjoy the moment and do not get caught up if you lose or win. A loss is just another opportunity to learn and do better. Oh, I like that. Be the best. Okay. Don't put upgrades into Alliance research fortifications. How have they not fixed this one? This is the second person to mention this too as well. Winning the season is about enjoying some good PvP and getting to take part in a few behemoths with your Alliance core and other new players you have join your adventure along the way. When you can't compete with whale alliances, just focus on what you can do and stop trying for the end of season content. This is actually good advice, I think. Focus on activity and contributions to the Alliance. Power can be meaningless at rest. However, activity can turn fights around. I like that. There's a few ones that I don't want to share with no one, but one trick or something that alliances don't pay much attention to about is have a lower amount of flags than your enemy. At least 20 to 30. Every alliance warehouse limit is 1.5 million, but lower the amount of flags is cheaper. Flags cheaper is the cost to build it. And if you have 60 to 70 flags and your enemy has 130, 140, and both have 1.5 million RSS of each warehouse full, the alliance with 60 to 70 flags would be able to build around 30 flags. Meanwhile, the alliance with 130 flags might only be able to build about 20, which is in a pretty extend zone area will be an important strategy advantage to have. Also, you shouldn't never level up durability alliance structure in the whole season. Flags with durability at level 1 has like 62k life points, and flags with durability level 10 has 84k life. If I'm not wrong, flag cap build is 21.91 Seconds. So those 22k indifference flags build time. Oh, interesting. Are an extra 60 minutes of building, which means each 3 flags in wartime, the enemy will be ahead 1 flag. If you have to build 20 flags to touch flags, your enemy will have 6 flags in war ahead of you. Dude, whoever wrote this, reach out to me, because I would want to maybe talk to you / interview, now that I'm thinking about it, about flagging and concepts. But yeah, at least just reach out to me. I'd be curious to see what's up. I always love when people give like really easy to explain answers, but still provide a level of depth, because it means that they have probably had to explain this a number of times to people. And usually when you have to say things over and over again, you typically find ways almost indirectly to make things more efficient and condense. That we connect all players from different server before season 2 to start an alliance together again. That increases us a lot of power. That means it doesn't have to be server anymore. It's a mix. Keep a good environment inside your alliance. Discipline and commitment. Main goal is to fight. Capturing dragon is secondary goal. Our alliance is much happier with losing a season while fighting from start to finish, in contrast to capturing the dragon but having very little fighting. Diplomacy wins are boring, and I'm happy that end of season dragon rewards kind of suck. Keeping the community strong. Activity of players more important than power. Positive attitude, patience, open communication between leadership and members, giving sufficient heads up and clarity on plans. I like this. For event war objectives and valuing feedback from members. Nice. Utilizing rallies in open field and choke points during war. In my opinion, communications between members of the alliance and the management is more in Discord. Trying to reshape the alliance to be active fighter members and removing farmers as soon as possible. Zero toxicity tolerance, no matter how strong or active someone is. I like that. Whip them. You guys. Dude, build like your life depends on it. That's funny. The devs should keep in mind they're free-to-play players because activity in an alliance is key. And elixir reductions and fighting at choke points is ruined activity for the losing side since they made the changes at choke fights. Territory is everything. Too vague of a question. A good leader. Okay, making it clear what the alliance was fighting for. You know early on who is most likely to win the season, especially if a major power advantage. But if you can focus on teamwork and small objectives, you have a better chance of retaining fun in the game. I like that. Really nice. Okay, here we go. Thoughts on if you should be able to build forts in final zones or not. So 67% of the vote is yes. You should be able to build forts in final zone. However, 27% of the vote said no. Curious than some of these other ones. It would be a very interesting season if alliances were able to use forts. It would entirely change the strategy of many alliances. It's neither good or bad. I think they mean if not build forts, because currently you can. No, but only if they increase road capacity. Yeah, I can see that. As far as it goes, I don't have much of a problem about it, but I can see forts being chokes in themselves because of their high HP pool. Having them exist gives you defensive chokes, while having them gone would mean that attackers have priority to push back. Either, honestly, don't care. Current magic. How dare you guys? Next one is: would you like to see them add home kingdom starting zones where all players in a kingdom go to a designated zone 1, therefore also most likely eliminating the resurgence feature? As far as how, and this is just additional context, as far as how such starting zones are determined would still be up for debate. This question focuses more on the idea of it. So this is interesting. The majority of people, 52% of the vote, said yes. And that's what we're getting. We know we're getting home kingdom starting zones from the home kingdom and migration announcement that was in the, I'm always forgetting the info thing, notice board. Thank you, in-game. 20% said maybe. 15.5% said no. And we have one F no. This idea is not bad, but I think too many flaws because that means under no circumstances could someone join another team without crossover migration. And also, if a kingdom is large, sometimes they start in multiple zones for opportunities. This isn't a bad idea, but some zones have an advantage going to the middle. This will cause bias no matter how well you try to make the map symmetrical. Yeah, I mean, again, I think this is one of those things where it's like, so keep in mind, home kingdom starting zones does not mean that your kingdom will start in the exact same zone every single KVK every single time. They still can have different ways of approaching it. One example is if they did, you could have like some kind of random order. So you could do like a random thing. It's like an RNG where it's like a number generator is randomly generated at reset, and then whatever number you are, that's your choice to select. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you could do something like an EOTC, which is that Eve of the Crusade in KVK, where it's basically like a pre-KVK multi-stage event that you participate from your home kingdom, where it's like which kingdom's players can kill the most amount of darklings within a time, how many of them. And bear in mind, yes, at some point you could also view like, yeah, this could exhaust you before a KVK. I'm just, again, throwing out some general examples that kind of hammer the point home on different ways that you can approach this. You can also do it based on kingdom powers. Like if your kingdom is a little bit stronger, maybe you get first choice, right? Instead of maybe having designated home kingdom zones, instead of having predetermined home kingdom zones, maybe you get an order in which you select. So you can have some kind of ranking system that happens for the kingdoms that are going into a KVK, and then one of them will get the first pick. They get to choose. And then the second one gets the second pick. Third one gets the third pick, right? And you can basically say that each alliance gets like an hour to choose. So like, let's say you have 6 or 8 alliances that are going into a KVK, or 4. You give everyone like a 24 to 48 hour, maybe like 2 to 3 day heads up. And you say, look, we're going to give everyone 1 hour to select their time. So, and the R5 will be the one to do it. So just make sure whoever the R5 is, they're on during that hour. And maybe it's like right after reset or something. There are ways that you can work around this to where you can still make it creative. You just have to think outside the box. Let's go to the next one. Would you at all like to see a system for KVK where you can select kingdoms to ally with for a season, regardless if permanent or temporary, right? And look, 58% of the vote said yes. 24% of the vote said maybe. 12% of the vote said no. Should be permanent. Depends on how it works. And maybe no. Diplomacy and backstabbing is a part of this game. That makes it interesting. If a game mechanic forces you to be with the same alliances all season, can make for a bad experience. I mean, it could potentially as well. That's why it was a question. So it's interesting, though, to see that a number of people were actually down for it. How many starting zones, zone 1, should there be, right? And this is interesting. So I didn't really know what I was going to expect to get here, but we have 36% of the votes saying there should be 6 starting zone 1s. Next is 20% of the votes saying 4, 11% of the votes saying 5, and then 10% of the votes saying 8. Now, when I see something like this, my initial thought is, man, it would just be cool to test out each one, right? Because we've seen what it is with 4, and we've seen what it is with 6. But I don't think we've seen what it is with 8. But that's interesting. Next question. Would you be okay if they delayed the start of the next season in order to add in more kingdoms to your server pool? Meaning, you could have a higher range of kingdoms to get paired with that can give you different matchups more often. And this is interesting. Look at this. 51%, the majority of alliances would be okay waiting a little bit longer. Now, I assume what also is going to come with this is that, and I should have added this in, but the assumption is that they would let us know, right? The dev team would say, hey, we just want to give everyone a heads up. We're going to extend the season by 2 additional weeks. So that way we can add 14 more kingdoms to the pool, giving you also more diversity and potentially more range of matchups, right? I think as long as you communicate those things, you will really be able to see a brighter response from the community. But this is interesting. And then 21% of the votes said maybe, with 8% of the votes saying no. So this is the thing. You don't know if you don't ask. Keep that in mind. Okay. What are the ways to win a season? So this is interesting to me, right? I wanted to ask this question because I thought it was important. Remember when I did that video talking about the ST1-4 group, which was the TFS, EXG, additional allies, RR, EXXL, excuse me if I'm not remembering everyone, and then it was BXS, EIS, LSK, etc. And I basically, summarizing, talked about how there were just more ways to win a season than simply having, like capturing the dragon and kind of defending at that point. And it was simply me talking about how, like, when we looked at the map as it pertained to specifically a war victory, right, which to me is you winning the war and pushing out your enemies out of the final zone, right? That wasn't what BXS and EIS and LSK did, right? It was more of an objective victory by holding. And so I wanted to ask this question to see what the leaders thought. And this is interesting to me because it basically shows us that the majority of alliances, top and active alliances, feel that there are multiple ways to win a season, regardless of that 69% voted for a war victory, right? More than the amount of people that voted for an objective victory. Keep in mind, people could vote for however many they wanted to. But the fact is that there are multiple ways to win a season. Even 10% of the people, even 8 people voted saying, you know what, this actually could be I don't know if you want to call it a win condition, but you could say that it is a condition, a fighting condition, right? Which is a stalemate victory or a draw, where basically no one captures the dragon due to fighting in the FC, right? So basically everyone's still fighting, but it's pretty even at that point to where no one gets an opportunity to capture dragon. So it just shows you that there is diversity in the different ways that victories can be done and can be won in the game. And these are at least 3 of them that I personally think are viable. So I will read some of these additional ones though as well, because I'm sure if I don't, I'll get a little grief for it. So diplomacy wins 90% of the season. Okay, that's actually, I didn't think about this one. But, I mean, if you're talking like early on establishing diplomacy, or potentially the fact that it's just already kind of lopsided at that point, if that's the direction they're going in. This question seems confusing, perhaps needs to be rethought. I like the idea of an objective that has a hard victor and perhaps multiple avenues to that victory. Perhaps a kill victor, behemoth victor, territory victor. This is interesting. It almost seems like this person is kind of looking at Civilization, for those of you that have played the turn-based strategy game Civilization, and how you have multiple different types of victory conditions in Civ. And that was a game I even used to reference, I think, when I was talking about this at some point. Territory and final zone victor, each earning their own top tier end of season rewards, as well as then giving these alliances accolades to show off in their alliance overview, or maybe an Augerstone event that has a final showdown control X location. Dragon could be used in a pass 5 in a tiny center area like the statues in a previous season, maybe even higher stakes, 1% deaths in this zone. This is actually a really interesting idea. There's quite a bit to unpack here, but this isn't bad. I actually like how this person is thinking a little bit outside of the box, or I should just say thinking outside the box, and how to approach this. And some of these could be really interesting if they're given a little bit more thought. Winning is subjective for sure, but the dragon is the prize. However, if your alliance had fun and grew because people wanted to join you, even though you didn't get the dragon, your alliance has won in a way. Okay, I think that's fair. Dragon and Zone 5 provide a reward, but progress for progress, but I believe the true winner of the season is the alliance who experiences the most healthy growth by playing in a way that encourages others to join up and work with your group moving forward. Obviously within reason, since being a nice guy stuck in Zone 1 isn't what is meant by this statement. It's funny. Fighting and having fun is the victory. Dragon is irrelevant. As long as you hold dragon, you win. In my opinion, the winner of the seasons are the ones that had the most fun and had the best after-season recruitment, though that will most likely change with global. Mix of objective and war, so there's actual fighting and definitive winner. Yeah. A season is won by all players who have fun and continue their progression in the game. It was a fun season for the alliances. For the alliance, then, that is a win in my book. People jumping to the strongest alliance at the end of the season doesn't make them winners, just reward chasers. Touche. It can be said from one point of view. Let's get to the next section, which is War PvP. Oh my god, we're at 42 minutes already? Jeez, I mean, I feel like I'm doing okay on my pacing. What troops have been the most used in battles from what you have seen? Ah, 81%. Mages, 16%. Archers. Did we get honorable mentions? Just one votes for the... I'm sorry. I mean, look, this is the data. This is what people are seeing who are fighting all the time as well. Would you like to see a harder counter system for PvP, where every unit has a direct hard counter that would have the potential to generate equal usage of all troop types? No, to give some context, not where every player has to use every troop, but the idea that every troop collectively has the opportunity to be equally represented, meaning we would potentially see all troops being utilized in the field. Think traditional RTS games. And what I probably should have said here is, actually, I'm sorry. I did say that. I probably should have bolded and underlined this, right? Because specifically I said a harder counter system with the emphasis on the word harder. And I should have bolded and underlined this as well now that I think about it. But look at this. 51% of the vote is in agreement that they would like to see a harder counter system. 31% said maybe, with only 18% saying no. Again, I mean, you can make an argument that people that are replying to this, for the most part, embody the majority or a large-scale view of the state of the game right now and are some of the best people to ask. Okay, what are your thoughts on the current Elixir production rates and how this has changed from early on in the game's life? Too low. They can increase a bit more. Elixir for my higher powered accounts is so low compared to my lower power accounts, forces me to spend more in my higher powered accounts to RSS heal. It's gotten a lot better, especially for whales, which isn't great, especially with the T1 stamina change. So far, 10. It's great. It's enough to get some fights in daily. Just need to keep an eye on your losses. It's a tactical thing, so it's good. It seems to be decent, but really not decent, especially for lower-powered players. The elixir production for low-spending or free-to-play players seems very low, and even for T5 with large amounts of troops, it is possible to put days' worth of troops in the hospital in a couple hours of fighting, which I believe limits the amount we can fight and should be increased. So far, it is good. It is a good system that at least build a balance kind of between free-to-play and pay-to-win. It is fine, but elixir production must be readily available for T4s to equalize the game against T5s. They have been slowly lowering the amounts players can grab. I do like the idea of capacity, allowing for saving for an upcoming war and then to heal a lot quicker to enjoy your time. RSS healing is way too costly. I understand it's a whale RSS sync, but to anyone but a crack and it comes off as pure RSS waste with not enough impact. I really do like having a higher elixir capacity, so during peace I would be able to keep my elixir in for war or have 1 million to use off the bat. No system is perfect, but the current one is better than before, giving more customization for your elixir production storage. Not going to lie, at that point I forgot what was the precedent healing before elixir, but this one is okay in my opinion. I'm still not a fan of the elixir system overall. The stockpile system in T1 seems to be moving in a better direction, though. They have gone in a good direction, but I feel RSS healing is too liberal and promotes whale domination, where free healing is too little in comparison. The daily caps for these should be closer to even. For example, I'm currently able to heal only 600k free elixir, but can do over 1 million with RSS healing. This benefits heavy spenders much more than smaller players who arguably need the healing more in wars, since they are at a disadvantage to begin with. And I actually think this is okay to think. Like, I think you can make an argument saying this should be a 1-to-1 ratio where, like, if you should have the same amount of healing that can be done on the free side and the RSS side. So that way you at least allow for the free to play to be a little bit more benefited. And at the same time, even if you want to keep the numbers the same, as they are, right, which I think it's max 2 mil free and 3 mil for RSS, why not make it 2.5 each, right? Why not make it 3 mil free and 3 mil RSS? General thoughts. Much better than before. Free-to-play has higher chances to continue playing. It can still improve, though. Faster healing equals more fights. Well, this has changed a lot since the game started, but the actual system is pretty good. Nothing much to say about it. For me, the elixir is too low. Should be 120k minimum, or we can increase by research or something. With the current amount of fights our alliance had, I didn't find any problem in the current rates. The new elixir production rate is fine for me. I love the elixir system. It was a bit unfair that it takes as much elixir to heal a T5 troop compared to a T4, but as everyone reaches T5, it won't matter anymore. As we get stronger, we need more elixirs. Bigger accounts now look to max production speed instead of cap. They should make it easier to get elixir. It's better now. Making it more controlled gives players options. It's okay at the moment. Don't change it radically. Believe it's fine. Currently, if it was too much, it would be really hard to make any progress against an alliance. We definitely need more free healing from elixir production rates and not less. Devs have been tweaking this value throughout the inception of the game, and we found having more elixir is always better, as this allows more opportunities for players to replenish troops. And when stamina runs out for their primary marches, players can strategize to build secondary marches, which brings more diverse playstyle in open field PvP. I actually agree pretty much wholeheartedly with that post. As you progress further into the season, it's fair, but initial elixir production is way too low. If a person has to use Resurgence, they need 10 days to heal up, which is ridiculous, not bad. I've appreciated this season that you can now store a lot more elixir than previously. However, production rates are still a little slow, and so if you end up being ganged up on by a bunch of T5 alliances or legions, you're out of the fight for quite a while. Okay, moving on. Would you like to see a unit tier T1 to T5 breakdown for kills, merits, and glory? Would need to add for glory points. On player profiles and potentially sub-leaderboards under kills, would need to add merits and glory point leaderboards. 62% of the votes saying yes. So pretty overwhelming majority that I think a lot of people have been asking for tier breakdowns. Then we have 19% maybe, with only 12% of the votes saying no. I will read a few of these. I have had players say they would like to see merit and glory points, specific cosmetics based off of a tier they reached. Oh, that could be cool. Perhaps most merits earned by T5 and T4, separate, giving a temporary skin which others can win if they get higher. See, that would be dope if they gave you like a unit cosmetic skin or something, like if you were like the top killer or something in your season, or if you won at a certain point, or if you, I guess, earned a certain placing on particular leaderboards, that could be dope. I actually really like that idea. Game sort of does this already through glory, adding glory, to an extent. Adding glory as a player's stat and having a breakdown is definitely something that would be great. Stat to see in Alliance Leader looking, agreed, 100%. Absolutely, yes, there's a lot of people with 300 mil kills, and a lot of those kills are T1. Lower tier units engaging higher tier units would get more merits. With that, PvP would be more balanced, and lower tiered players will have more will to fight against higher tier players. Okay, now let's get to home kingdoms and migration. What are your thoughts on server capacity as it pertains to if we have enough information to understand it, the size of kingdoms, number of migrants that can enter, etc.? It really depends on how you look at it. You can't just fit 2 alliances worth of people to one server. The game forces big servers to have 1 alliance. On the other side, it might ruin the game experience for most. A couple servers could be ridiculously powerful. This system always has a loophole or bug that gets used. Not sure how to fix it since I don't see the data the devs see. Agreed. I think server capacity needs to be at least allow for 2 full alliances. I actually could agree to that. Please give us, and I'm talking about more like capacity, not as though I'm advocating for, and they're just saying 2 full alliances. They're not saying anything more than that. Please give us vision. So far, it's unclear and frustrating. Fix it. Give us vision. We want to keep our community as one. Not enough. I think it's good. Just a feeling. Don't know the numbers. Server capacity needs a rework. As of now, part of the equation is activity, which essentially is indefinite, which means that the more active you are, the more your server fills, which just feels like a penalty. So just random thought here. What do you guys think about if the king or queen could select alliances? No, I'm probably overthinking this. I was going to say, what if they could select alliances that they want to be counted towards their kingdom power? But yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, that probably wouldn't be. I'd have to think about that more. That thought arrived too fast in my head and came out of my mouth probably too quick. But I guess generally I was just thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool if this could work, where the king or queen could designate maybe like the players and or alliances that are active in the kingdom and participating and contributing. So those would be the ones that are factored into, and they couldn't be people that were like under level 25. So like, you'd all have, the people would have to be level 25 that are selected. So, right. So it makes it less likely that you could like manipulate the numbers, or what you could do is like, once you like add them, you would like send that roster in or something like that. And then it would be locked in, and like only those people would be able to participate in KVK. But like, now that I'm thinking about it, that would be, it's probably not a good idea. I should just stop talking, continue reading. Server capacity needs to rework. Oh no, I've already read that. I think it should increase. The limited server capacity leads to 1 or 2 major teams instead of 3 or 4 or even 5, which would lead to more dynamic fights and diplomacy. Okay, it would be good to know that information in advance. Per server must at least accommodate 500 players. Give us the full details. Tell us what we can bring into our home. Why keep us in the dark? I understand some will try to exploit it, but then create harder rules that have some punishment for it. Allowing leaders to plan a home server and invite smaller groups to join would be made a lot easier if we knew how many we can actually let in. I think this is pretty spot on, right? I think the fact is that if everyone knows what the details are, then everyone has the same equal opportunity to figure out how to best accommodate themselves. As for us, being smaller, it doesn't affect us. However, I can see the issue of trying to grow, but can't because too many people on the server that you don't want. We need a system to see who is on our server, how active they are, and what capacity is left. The green, yellow, orange is too vague. For full servers, every player that Server Alliance could squeeze in is incredibly important. Being able to see and control who comes into your server is also a bonus. We don't have enough information to calculate, unfortunately. I don't think too much about it. Damn it. With the current matchmaking model, I would say it's healthy since it breaks up whale coalitions. If matchmaking were more balanced, I would say opening it up to allow kingdom growth would be desirable, since all players would be in a grouping of more similar products. This is actually a really good point. I love this. Almost like a black hole, in my opinion. We should have more information about it from developers. For season format, actual capacity is pretty good, but for kingdom format shouldn't be a limit, I think. Increase the server capacity so more drama can happen. I think all information should be explicit. They should show how many people are able to migrate to a target server. We have zero information. Full alliances can't migrate without risking losing half their members. Terrible. This is the one thing this game has continuously effed up on. Hopefully with server kingdoms as changes. If not, only top servers will prevail and everyone else will quit. I don't understand the question. Increase it. Give us the necessary information as server size and space available. We definitely need more as we start to see larger alliances reaching max capacity and establishing shell alliances. Server capacity seems fine to me. It shouldn't be increased too much or only whale alliances benefit from it and basically make a monopoly out of it. Christian Clab need more capacity. They need more capacity for every server. All right. Let's go to the next one. Would you like to know the exact maximum player capacities per kingdom, and as players join or leave, that number updates in real time? 89% of the vote saying yes, we would love to see that. 4% saying maybe, with 2% saying no. And then a few other, like, I believe that only alliance leaders in that server should see the numbers to avoid trolls from trying to quack you over. This is not rock. We are servers, not kingdoms. Yes. Yes and no at the same time, because it lets people grief servers pretty easily, but also shows you as R4 how many people can still join, maybe adding. So yeah, I mean, I think these are like good points, right? I think ideally in this kind of a situation, this is something that like the king or queen, maybe appointed people of titles would be able to see, but not everyone, right? And maybe it is just active leaders, but I think it's more important because if it's leaders, then someone could just make an alliance, right? Then if you put thresholds on it, it can end up being a little bit too much. So sometimes just leaving this up to king, queen, and then also anyone that potentially can get title access, or if you can customize permissions, that would even be better. What are you either looking forward to or not once home kingdoms arrive? I think we're like halfway done, and I'm at 55 minutes. Something similar to King System in Rock. Playing with my friends I haven't played with since Season 1 and 1+, kind of crappy. We've played this game for over a year, and the majority of my friends from S1 haven't been paired with me in my alliance since then. Building more of a community with other alliances and your own on your home server. I think that's a good point. I'm not sure what I want yet for Home Kingdom, so I'll wait on it to come online first. Kimono, stop crying in the official Discord. What do you guys? Come on, man. I'm looking forward to it. Nice switch in the game. I think it depends on how it is implemented, but it seems good for the game. Looking forward to the opportunity to stay in a home kingdom, even if we lose a season, so that people do not quit or get discouraged after temporary losses where we are perhaps trapped in a certain zone. That's actually a good point. Nothing. Easily identify players coming from your home server. I like that. I worry there won't be enough time to originally settle and organize before we are thrown into a new season. Whatever you're calling them now. What happened to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? As for any new feature, I would have to see it for myself. However, if the Home Kingdom map is anything like Rock, maybe I'd be very happy for the center of the map. I'm sure you would be. Not sure on this one. Server identity, too many unknowns still in Home Kingdoms to answer this one yet. I haven't broached the subject yet. More alliance stability. Okay. I think that's good. I think that's actually a good one. I'm looking forward to having more stability for growth. And look at the next answer here. Growth of a community within groups of alliances. I am not looking forward to dealing with caps, especially if other alliances decide to join the Home Kingdom and take up the space from players or alliances that you actually want to be with. Home Behemoths for account progression regardless of season KVK outcome. To establish my kingdom actually should be fine with that. Better matchmaking, more stable kingdoms. The home kingdom capacity should be huge and the cross migration system should be up ASAP. Migration control. It's kind of stupid that you can have illegal migrants join your server just to merge into your enemies for the next season. This is something that happened a few times. Stable and correct migration. My opinion is that home kingdoms and migration should be given to top players to choose on the end of the season. If they want to do one or the other, they should have option to do it. Grouping up with friends from other servers and hopefully control over your own home kingdom as to whom can enter. We don't want inactives taking slots. A place that takes breaks and have alliance to go in off season. Yeah. Looking forward to home kingdoms giving players alliances a sense of belonging and ownership and opportunity to forge longer term relationships with the players within the home kingdom. Those are good answers. Looking forward to the increased amounts of behemoths throughout the map like it has been in season 1 and behemoths getting weaker or stronger according to kingdom strength activity. Looking forward, just reconnecting with some old friends, being able to finally reunite with my friends and fight together. Don't really know. Looking forward to a king title where you can accept or deny players trying to enter your kingdom. Don't really like any other aspect of home kingdoms. More groups settling down and not jumping all over. More info on your next season. Always sucks to end a season, then start a new season facing the same kingdom. Control of inflow, which is basically accept deny, which we don't truly have. It is going to be kind of a soft ability from what we know right now. A place to call home to get prepared in between KVK. Yeah, exactly. The stability of Alliance's players is very difficult to grow as a team when there is so much uncertainty between seasons. Being able to control migration and coming and being able to boot people off your server if they don't conform with the rules. Okay, let's go to the next one. How long should kingdoms wait to start their next KVK? After one finishes. So I basically just kind of put this as like 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to kind of keep things simple. You could see 45% of the vote which is the largest portion, said 1 week. 32% said 2 weeks, right? So 1 to 2 weeks, and that's kind of what we talked about. I think that's probably what they're going to aim for right now, with reducing the season from 75 days to 50 days and then having a period of time, which is probably going to be 1 to 2 weeks, somewhere in between that, for how long you'll be in your home kingdom prep. I'll read a few of these here. Why not break season after X seasons? Maybe every 4th season is a chill, recuperation, relaxation season in the home to RSS gather, aim for some borders of elite behemoths. This might not be a popular opinion, but burnout is real and officers and leaders will crumble without breaks. There's already too much downtime after Dragon capture. Magma should come before Dragon. I agree, Magma should come before Dragon. Depends on what you mean. Finishes when Dragon is captured or when the first season summary pops. The season summary thing week 1, and then someone said 1 to 2 weeks. Okay. If they were to add King Queen system, what tools or features would you like to see that can help the kingdom? Joining kingdoms only by invitation or application system, and of course, banish feature. Interesting. So again, this is something that we've talked about. Most people know I'm a very big proponent of this. I think you should have this ability to autonomously have absolute control over who gets in, of who's accepted and not into the kingdom at every power level. Right. I mean, I would argue every power level. I mean, I might be swayed at least on like the lower power levels where it's like based on the power of your kingdom. Maybe that scales. And as an example, let's say your kingdom has 10 billion summed up power for like your top 300 players or something like that, right? Maybe at 10 billion, you're allowed to bring in players that are under 15 mil, and it's like a passive thing, right? So anyone under 15 mil can come in, right? As an example. Maybe once you get to 15 billion power, then it's anyone at 20 mil and under can come in. Maybe if you're at 20 billion power for your kingdom, anyone under 25 mil. Or I'm sorry, I guess it would be lower when I think about that. Yeah, I'm saying that the wrong way. Basically just flip that. Right, where it's lower power can come in the stronger you are, and then higher power can come in the lower you are. But you could still set that, or it's passive, or you just simply take an easier approach, which is that everyone has to be accepted and denied that wants to come in. And that, to me, would just kind of be the kind of end-all, be-all at that point. But I think it still would be interesting to discuss other potential options. So we have, yes, everyone I've talked to would like to see that. Could help with the spy issues from people switching sides and not having someone accountable for their players and actions. I'm not sure. Never played Roxas, is new to me. Very exciting, though. Yes, definitely kick people out. Don't know the ability to accept and deny players coming into the server. Assuming this means like a leader for the home kingdom, I would want things like universal markers that everyone could see. Oh, that's actually pretty dope. I like this. Universal markers. That's actually a really good idea. Could see and universal mail decree availability. That would be dope. I hope that they do apply that because they do have kingdom mail. So I hope that they allow you to like pin or do decrees. That's actually a really good idea too as well. The knights that can only place markers during fights and markers that can also be shared in union chat. Too much power, don't kill people's fun. I think all the features in Rock has the features to help players and prevent rogues. It also helps develop effectivity. Managing who comes to your server will help with recruiting players through global migration, 100%. The possibility to kick or manage players from a kingdom and get information about the server capacity, 100%. Placeable global markers. It's really cool. Multiple people said that. The ability to manage which alliances are able to stay within the kingdom. I mean, okay, that... we might need to pump our brakes and think about that one a little bit more. Kingdom player management, king, queen selection controls, every single one that are in Rock System, to be honest. I'm iffy on maybe every single one. I think some of them are good, but not all. King strategy and war and queen tower placement and member management and Behemoths, similar to Rise Kingdom, maybe same Rock System, migration control, kingdom title system. I'd be okay with either of those. Just accept, deny people into the kingdom. The R5 already acts as the king. It would just be a name change. Union gem node that can be shared between alliances that are union. In a union that would be time limited, would get more active servers in united front that win KVK with special rewards to their players. Control of players in and out, current power, current slot, activity point check for everyone. Yes, it would be greatly help bring in players and build a community around leadership and server. Oh, I like they numbered it off. Leadership and governance, decision-making that impacts kingdom development, customization, personalization, world decrees, policies and character customization, social interaction, and diplomacy, forge alliances, declare war, military strategy and conquest, army, leadership. I was looking for something a little bit more specific here, but thank you. Controlling who migrates into the kingdom, maybe some additional features, actually buffs and debuffs. It would be highly beneficial if more than one person could have the same powers as an R5, particularly to a point role such as BM to others if they are offline, and the R5 is also offline. Okay. Being able to exile players helpful against trolls and active accounts, rogues, etc. Sure. That if enough people say they want another king queen, they can vote for a different one. Interesting. Except deny, or I'd have to think about that one a little bit more. Except deny players from a kingdom, add titles to players, give out kingdom roles, debuffs, control inflow to server, training buff. We aren't there yet. Lots of tools from Rock would be nice. Kingdom wide buffs, male especially, but controlling the migration is also huge. If this is referring to the feature that exists in Rock, where one person in each kingdom gets full power of the server and has special abilities, it sounds good on paper, but there would have to be a vote out system if people think the king queen is abusing power or not being good with power. Approval of entrance, server entrance, the ability to see and or control who's in the kingdom without affecting their gem use if possible, and the ability to retain places in the kingdom for players until they come online and confirm it, since most migration processes happen right at reset. Okay, let's go here. Would you like to see... this is just a flat-out question, right? Would you like to see the ability to accept or deny players that would need to apply to the kingdom? Current system is where players can join any kingdom as long as there are spots available, with no way to vet or know who joins. So this is pretty overwhelming. 76% of the vote says yes, they would like to have an accept deny system. 11% says maybe. 8% says no. Only if everyone has this possibility, i.e. the players applies to an alliance within a kingdom. Probably not, can't speak to it due to lack kingdom owner experience. I really understand the value this can add to a well-managed kingdom and even to a player who might misunderstand the expectations of that kingdom and now be able to discuss that before entering. But unfortunately, the opposite side is true as well, where an individual can control how the game experience goes for an entire group and very well do horrible or even malicious job at managing. I would have to say maybe the system could be refined, addressed. So like keep in mind, if something happens, people will just leave that kingdom. This is pretty clear and this is pretty consistent with what usually happens. Even if they have to wait a while for whatever reason it may be, right? It's either some kind of fighting or civil war or some breakout happens, or the people just leave because they just don't like the way it's played. I've been in a couple kingdoms that had that happen for ones I was just playing in. I've also seen that happen in a number of kingdoms as well. Okay, let's get to the PvE behemoth side. After capturing a behemoth, would you like to see a way to either teleport players to a lair for elite raids for free without having to move a city, sign up players for elite raids and they can be transported to a separate space for the attempt, making elite raids easier on transportation and logistics? Pretty overwhelming. 83% of the vote said yes. They would love for that to happen. 6% said no, with 5% saying maybe. This person's like, yes. Why is this not a thing? So many wasted TPs for taxis and for attempts. Make it the zone's behemoths are in a small immune waiting room on the ramps or entryways where players can be teleported to if they've chosen. To stop abuse if they fail or the raid is canceled, they are teleported back to their bases. No given free reign to move for the elite zone. This gives others the ability to watch and enjoy or even capitalize on the situation. Troops would still be wounded. Wounded as they are, though, and maybe even at a small cooldown, aka 5 minutes for teleporting. Perhaps this is too far, but maybe players can offer marches and leaders can select from them which ones to bring. Allow us to set a time and line up for elite raid, teleport the players or troops or something there 5 minutes prior to the start, which allows you to bring subs. Okay. Do you think there are enough events in game to keep players engaged? 52% of the vote said no, which isn't, it is a majority, but it's not like an overwhelming majority. 18% of the vote said yes. 11% of the vote said maybe. A few other people said definitely not. We're fighting same behemoths for 5 seasons now. That's not 100% true. You do have some different behemoths. Now, I don't know if because I don't think I've participated in any of the Frost ones for Bellerin. So I would optimistically assume, maybe haphazardly assume, that the Frost behemoths have different interactions when you're fighting them than Tamaris ones, because they're technically titled differently. So I would hope the assumption there would be that they should act and respond differently. However, if that is not the case, then okay. I get what you're saying, and that would just be unfortunate to hear. No, there is too much downtime and not enough interactive events. Why do we not have the rally event like Rock has? Defending our bases together would be great and teach people what heroes and defensive talents and definitely talents to take. Adding communications helps too. Yes, but some of the events are outdated. They can come up with some new events that are more rewarding and engaging. If there's war in a server, yes. If there's no war, no. Quantity, yes. Time between events is the bigger issue. Okay. But basically saying, hey, we'd love to have a few more events added. So I think what would be nice to do is basically listing out like what all the events are, how many of the events are there in total, which of the events are more individual focused versus alliance or kind of co-op focused. So that way you have kind of a better gauge and a better visual aid. So that might be something I do next. What kind of events would you like to see added that would give players more to do and more opportunities to progress their accounts? 1v1, 3v3 tournaments, rows every week, new behemoths, add legendary heroes and artifacts that are over a season or more old to the gold chest, draws to help players get tokens for them 100%. Most of you know I'm very much in favor of this, where basically all legendary heroes eventually will get added to the gold chests. But if they're initially released as gated, meaning you can only get them, basically any heroes that are not automatically added to the gold chest upon release, they're in that release space for a short period of time. That can maybe be 1, 2, 3 months, and then they are added in addition to their current release space, whether that's a wheel, if that's a bundle you have to pay for, they will then be added in addition to the gold chests. More PvP events. We need internal alliance events that will make players have friendly competition between them inside their own alliances. Then that makes players spend more and have more fun. Friendly competition is best competition, since I bet we always look at people we know on the rank and poke them before we see enemy state. PvP. More PvP. I have really enjoyed the recent Behemoth and AI PvP raids that a team needs to be built for. I think more of those, and definitely a short-term PvP event between smaller amounts of players would be super fun. Also an event to test legions with others without taking deaths. So events that will give a better chance for free-to-play to build power, like puzzles, strategy-related events, 2 clans to have a chance in getting Behemoth frame, like the Rock Rally base event. Also perhaps create some more PvE fun events again, like the Rock travel through an area to a boss and defeat them thing. There must be, so basically like a dungeon raid, an MMO raid. Others people can think of are players like to play random fun events like a capture the zone, mosh pits for killing, so on, but that doesn't translate to large scale things. It does get repetitive from time to time. However, I really enjoy events that involve fighting other people or alliances. They could add random areas where Darkling strongholds pop up and have territory. This is kind of like the barbarian forts in Home Kingdoms, I believe. An alliance would need to destroy the towers and capture the main structure. Can maybe do this for the wonders that are everywhere. I do like this idea on utilizing the wonders in some kind of mini game capacity. Could be fun mini games in the map, or some behemoth layers that would give players a desire to log in to play with their friends during peaceful and boring days. If they log in, they will naturally do their daily tasks and make their account progress. Random examples during peacetime. We need some events like Survive and Behemoth Lair, in which you send a legion and the goal is just to be the last player alive in the lair. Okay, without killing the behemoth. Cats and mouse, where we had a mouse that needed to run while the other players were chasing him to take him down. We have fun like this. Yeah, we used to call this like the rabbit race or something. Less strongest lord type eco-strucking, more actual engaging events. Smaller group PvP events would be nice to see, so players can better live test their builds and tactics, like the mini behemoths, but instead having PvP where you can pick small teams to fight over an objective. Even without rewards, it would provide a sandbox for players to have fun. From there, maybe a server-wide tournament for small teams that could be held like Row, but much simpler, and also amongst teams formed from players in the current match servers. More Row-like events, PvP matches that can sign up on demand, either alone or with teams. Maybe a ranking system like League of Legends. I believe the developer mentioned this on their last video. Something like an arena. Some event that free-to-play can actually play, more group PvE, PvP events, game modes that you can actually play with friends, more than gems and rock, more treaties and arrows from events. Early Crisis is really fun in rock. More alliance widespread events. We only have Donkey now, and that's so damn boring. I would need to think about this more group event that can grant more rewards, both for free-to-play, but something also for the whales to strive to be top 1. Recent automation. Raid is fun, but no incentive to get number 1. PvE, like Fort's most killed rank event for Alliance. Darklings attack your city, which makes Garrison heroes more relevant. PvP tournaments, championship, individual, team-based. What do we have here? Maybe more capturable structures like Spires, but instead they give out small buffs for the entire Alliance. Capturing should be an Alliance-based activity due to difficulty. Road tournament. An event that somehow forces players to participate. Example might be a punishment of some form, 20% hospital bill if they don't defeat a behemoth or other monster. It promotes people in the alliance turning up and working together. We'll read this last one. More events like Roots of War, where you require teams and registration, updated Eliana to be stronger and give better rewards, more escort quests, maybe even something like semi-behemoths in open field that you have to capture with other players. They have mechanics. Darkling Siege, Darklings try to attack one of our fortresses, and everyone has to protect it, is similar to Caravan. Okay, let's get to the Alliance portion now. We're getting close to being done. We're about 2/3 of the way in. Would you like to see, how am I doing on time? An hour 14? Okay, sure, why not? Would you like to see the village system reverted to where once you connect or capture a village, the buffs would apply alliance-wide to every member? This is pretty obvious. 79% of the vote said yes. 6% of the vote said maybe. 7% of the votes said no. Let's read a couple. Villages need to be for the whole alliance and maybe nerfed a little bit to balance the change. If they need to nerf villages to do that, then no. But if they are completely the same, then yes. Yes, given the buffs remain useful, having capacity on the villages adds so much drama for the alliance leaders to manage that it becomes contention point with people upset over in every alliance. I mean, this is pretty spot on. Once the village is filled to 100% capacity, it turns into alliance wide. Okay. I mean, all right. Okay. I guess there's nothing wrong with that, really. Yes, I appreciate that managing our own systems is what they want, but I don't want to spend my time on village management, especially with no tools to manage them. That's pretty spot on. How do you feel about the current village system compared to what it previously was? Better. It's better, but could be better. It's okay. It's decent. The devs aren't putting in any effort. Some people can't take villages due to not strong enough. The T5 get the villages, and the others are left out. Painful system that hurts the unity of the alliance. It's better. I think the previous system question. I think the previous question is super important, and villages cause more harm than good. When only 40 people can occupy some of them, and disputes start, and people will take from each other. It's just a mess of people fighting over 2,500 daily elixir, and is worsened by the need for capturing villages and seasoned talents. It causes disagreements and commotion, whereas if it will automatically apply to all once captured, it will make players' life easier 100%. I feel like it was made to cause internal drama. Limiting slots and having people argue over it is causing organizing nightmares. Smaller alliances are also expected to donate slots to bigger alliances. This just feels like a way to cause internal arguing to hope the big alliances might break up. Yeah. The village system now technically works, as we haven't really filled up a village to its capacity. However, if we did, I could see the issue of people complaining. I mean, you're seeing a trend here. I think it's pretty obvious. The new slots are a step in the right direction, but a player not being able to go into a village because they are free to play in T5 can better use the village. It's just silly. The rewards are better than the useless one we had in Season 1. It's annoying. I don't like the limits and having to micromanage and double check which ones I've actually taken, much less hurting other people into the alliance into actually taking the villages. It still feels very tedious for very little gain, especially considering how few roads an alliance gets. Sub-alliances are needed to collect all the villages, and they quite often end up accidentally removing players, which means having to change alliances to redo the village and wait out cooldowns on teleports. Horrible, causes too much drama. Union Village should be shared too. It's a headache. You need to track and keep an eye on everyone in the village. Always send and just keep more work, and just keep more work for management. It's good. Should have spots to everyone to avoid fights over. The original system for the villages is the best. The current village system creates conflicts to other players not able to get to the village. It's a huge workload for alliances. Takes an entire R4 team just to run that, I assume. Let's move to the next one. What would you like to see added into the game, or so, what do we have? What would you like to see added to the game or change that would help an alliance's leadership manage the alliance better or improve quality of life? Just add the cases to the game. Add where a person applying came from, like alliance or alliance history, so leaders can assess if they are there to help or to hurt the alliance. Oh, I like that. So basically, like a list of like all the alliances that they have been in that season, as an example. That's a really good idea. R4 is being able to do more things like removing towers. I like that. We need a vote for changing the leader if he is offline for more than 7 days. Like if the leader is offline for more than 7 days, the alliance will have an option to put his leadership position in a vote to be changed with a person from R4 by most votes. This is how you can keep many alliances active. At the same time, if you have 51% of players asking for change of the leader, to be able to send a request to vote over the leader trust. So in vote, you need to have 3/4 of the alliance vote yes for change of the leader, so the alliance gets a new leader. Okay. I mean, wouldn't necessarily be well, I'd want to think about a little bit more on that one, but I'm not necessarily entirely against it because I do think it can maybe help out more than, like, there's more pros than I think cons overall. Select multiple members for rank change, for example. Ooh, I like that. That's good. The ability for an R4 to promote others to R4. The ability for all R4 to see how many are online. Be able to zoom out more when placing structures. No more mist. The ability to kick members out of villages would be nice to settle disputes. The ability to place union markers. Being able to see past weeks' leaderboards so we don't need hundreds of screenshots to keep track. Ooh, this is something I like. Where if they allow for you to see like progression charts or progression leaderboards, where you can go back 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Maybe you can go back as far as like to the beginning of the season as an example. So like when you get into a new KVK, maybe like the alliance data will reset starting from day one. And as you progress in the season, you can always go back and see like what the day one was. Maybe they'll give you graphs. I actually think they should do a lot more like this in game. And this is a really good idea. What do we have here? Give a little bit more freedom for officers so the R4 can take a break in case something happens to him or her in real life. I think that's a great idea. Able to pin a message in chat. Okay. Not against that. Allow us to create ghost blueprints for where to place turrets that players can only place in. I get it would be annoying to make it, but would help plan out TP spots and tower lines. This is actually a fantastic idea where, for example, if you are, let's say, going to place a tower, right? So like, let's say, or there's a toggle option. So like if you're an R4 or R5, and you're going and you're like, and maybe you get like a toggle option you can select when you're zoomed in on the territory, and it allows for you to overlay future tower placements, and or if you go and you click place a tower, I think on your territory tab, you then, within the alliance, you then get to see the transparent, or not transparent, but you get to see like the outline of where someone has already said, hey, you can put the tower here, and then you just have to go and put it there so it fits right, kind of like connecting some Tetris blocks. I actually think this is a fantastic idea. On the map, what do we have? For alliance leaders and title officers to be able to see who is online on the map instead of checking inside the alliance menu. It would just make it easier to try and organize events quickly, like caravan fighting. This is a good idea. So Infinity Kingdom had something like this, where you could see all the players, not necessarily the players that were online, but you could see like the mini map would show you red dots, and that would indicate where every single player was in your alliance. So I actually thought that was like a good idea. A better alliance management UI, a timeout or mute feature for someone in alliance chat that you want to be quiet but don't want to kick. That's actually a good idea. Better notification for polls. It's too easy to dismiss the red dot notification while clearing all of the other random battle logs, etc. An icon telling players they haven't responded to a poll or decree would go a long way. That's good. I like that. Would also say adding more R4 slots and overlap the added title permissions would be a massive help. We have R4s covering different time zones, so need to juggle R4 positions at least twice a day, which is a lot of work. I would actually be okay with them increasing the amount of R4 spots, even if it's by 50% or doubling. Alliance chat moderation tools. Just let the Alliance officers add or remove villages from the people without kick them. Villages taken. Or make the management capable to manipulate the village. I think for now it's good. One R4 rule that could assign R4 without the need for a rotating R5 like a co-lead. A search feature on the Alliance member list. That's a great idea. Allow leaders to kick people from villages. Glory points added to profiles. Agreed. For all players to see their game time. All stats growth, merit resource gather help, and not only for weekly. Agreed. Give activity stats like hours online, number of times participated events like Behemoths or PvE. I actually like that. I think it's a good idea. More data can actually be helpful, especially if it's automated and already done for you in game. Allowing a certain R4 titles to promote rank change, except promoting R5 within the R1 R4 ranking. Allow more markers to be placed before reaching a max limit. Add markers which have a cooldown for events. I actually like this idea of increasing the marker max limit. Add more description to the not sure. Simply searching for members in the alliance would be great. Ability to download the leaderboards into an Excel file. Technology that allows placing more markers. Ability to have more Legion markers, more colors and shapes. Ability to name Legion markers. Ability to send for alliance credits messages that appear directly in front of every player's screen at the top. Only R5 entitled R4s, core R5 position. Okay, that's interesting. I like this idea of being able to download the files in-game. If they had a way to do this, that I think would be absolutely dope. Better members leaderboard, king system for searching feature, nothing really selecting multiple members at once. to be up or down a rank or to be removed. We pay for our services. More markers. We need an easier way to see individual player stats, including online time, Behemoth, and more participation. Some players like to change names every day, which doesn't help matters. Being able to set up core member lists for mail purposes would be great too. Man, these are a lot of really good ideas. This is one of the reasons why it's great to ask players like this, because you never know what kind of creative juices people are going to have flowing. This is good stuff. How do you go about setting merit, glory point, and goals expectations, and what are they per season? For those willing to share, again, this is based on them giving you a little bit more insight to how these alliances run. That was good. It really depends on the power of the player. We keep track of everyone's contribution to the war, and we evaluate on average. The glory points this season were poorly done. There was no clear communication on this, and we started it knowing barely anything. Friendly wars, friendly merit fights, or just fighting other alliances, depending on the time of the season. Farm merit points need to be forbidden somehow. The higher the better. Overall activity, everyone does what he or she can to help out the alliance as a team. We have set merit requirements per week for all alliance members in order to ensure everyone is actively contributing to the war. However, the number is not high, and even low-powered players can get it within a few hours of actively fighting. Of activity during a fight. As for the glory points, we have yet to implement a system for glory points, as it's hard to police since it's not shown on members' profiles or in an alliance. Okay, we do also provide incentives like villages to those who are participating and have high merits. Okay, I like how we at least get a little insight there. On past season, I got 1.1 million merits, and this season I'm close to 1.2 as a free-to-play. That buys no single package with around 15.4 million power. I like what I have accomplished and want to do more. My goal is to help my alliance and at some point upgrade to T5. One-on-one PvP must not earn merit points. I have an HR team to check activity and gains. They have to manually type out weekly gains in a spreadsheet. Being able to grab that info and import it could help here. I try not to get too involved, but we look at merit gain plus activity and such and see if players should be brought up from academies. We didn't really expect to fight too much, but after our goal was set to around every 10 million power is to get 1 million merits. Okay, I like how we're getting at least some more specifics. That's nice. Appreciate the share. It varies, but we look at merits gained before and merits gained after fighting starts, then create a curve and an average. The players who are at the bottom that have done hardly any fighting are the ones that stand out for not meeting expectations. The answer really just depends on the opportunities. Our alliance is lower than usual merits this season due to lack of opponent fighting time. When the only PvP you get in for half the season is release statues, you obviously have to set lower bars for merits. I mean, I think that's appropriate, right? You scale it appropriately based on how much fighting you're able to do, even if you have some kind of like a foundational method or formula that you apply. This varied based on the current bell curve of the alliance, given that there are many leadership decisions that impact engagement of the entire alliance for a given season, i.e. lots of war because of contestant zone 1. I try not to put too much weight on merits because they are flawed stat due to merit farming or stat padding by not supporting the team. It also punishes players who build for alliance activities like infantry, mains, or power leveling archers for behemoths instead of mages for PvP merits immediately. Weighing in with a formula including at-war merits along with build times, helps, etc. is the way to go. I would love to have a feature to filter stats to a time period. Even better would be to have an API released so stat collection for alliances didn't need to be manual spreadsheet task at all. I would love to write scripts to do it, and an API like most other games offer would be a lifesaver. More or less agreed pretty much there. We check a combination of weekly merits, building time, and donations to determine activity. We try to find an average value that represents the activity level we expect from a player. 10% of the season, so it's harder. We don't really differentiate marrying glory points since there's a lot of dueling with allies from different servers. Every season we weed out our lowest 20 to 30 merit performers, cut off it at about 3 million merits. On average, you are a 100 million power player. You should be getting more than 10 million merits. Other factors come into play as T4 have harder times getting merits from big battles if there's a lot of T5s. We scan each battle before a zone opens to when there's a ceasefire. We also ask members to post their glory point screenshots on Discord. Based on their power, to be fair, glory point is a great way to identify true participation, contribution, activity in war during critical times, i.e. final zone battles. However, we also look at a combination of power growth per season. Glory points and overall season merits are incorporated into these expectations to ensure we get decent overall alliance activity uptime. We do not have a set number because every season is different depending on matchmaking and the amount of fights we get, so we typically try to look at each season's average player performance or a highly active free-to-play and use that as a benchmark. Ooh, that's nice. I like that. So you're kind of like benchmarking the average lowest potential output to see what that max would be and then setting that as like your threshold. Okay, let's go next. What activities do you run in your alliance to keep things fun, fresh, and motivating to members? I've been fighting NASTi for 2 seasons, so no comment on this. Drink in Discord. All right, solid. Just started friendly PvP events since there was a lot of downtime. Sometimes we do internal tournaments, 5v5. We have quizzes. We watch other games in groups often, and we comment them, so we have really close relations and feel more friendly. Feet picks, of course. We point out who is the best builder, helper, go poke some big enemy alliance with a bunch of flyers. PvP events. Darkling runs where we gather enough people to tear through our CP, set up PvP with other alliances, also attempt to partake in meaningful conversations that go outside just the game to keep people motivated on the social side of the game is really huge. So far we have war that keeps our members motivated. Sometimes we plan events like using only gatherers in a Behemoths and the one surviving the last one take first place with all the RSFs from commissions, giving them assignments of what to do next. I run Mosh Pit Mondays, come beat up the T5s with mass hordes. We do have some quizzes and activities in Discord. We used to have duels with prize money, but it became a pain to organize, I'm sure, probably for the money part too. My suggestion, for me, there is not much to do to increase activity. There's trying to give out rewards for performance, but that doesn't really give enough reason for people to be that active on a weekday. Yeah, touche. War games. We created a Lord of the Rings role-playing war game event where one side went evil and the other had to get to the Spire Tower of Sauron and drop the ring, capture the Spire. Not everything worked out the way we wanted, but it got people playing and having fun. Okay, yeah, sometimes it's just testing. Game alliance events, Behemoths, or some fun mini games. I gave a few examples in a previous question. Our enemies are pushed onto the other side of the semi-protected gates, so we can't set PvP times. Honestly, group Darkling parties are the only regular thing people like to join in on. Depends on the season. We do mini skirmishes, mock wars, small competitions with traded resources as prizes, group CP clearing, and fort groups are at set times to allow better growth and socializing. Also, each season we ally with small alliances and swap players around with them to enjoy new faces and help smaller players grow into the game as well. I love this. I really like that answer. Tournaments, giveaways, movie nights, learning sessions, talents, war pets, etc. Kick their ass and make everyone insult each other. Pretty fun. Make them join Discord, a VC, and spend time talking about different things. Okay. More event war and a completely new Behemoth every season, so people don't think it's boring and think it's same season as previous. That mean all the Behemoth, a new one in every season. Mock wars, PvP training, skirmishes, duel, lots of Behemoth raids, PvP events, and social activities on Discord. We do streams where we go live, we spin wheels, open artifacts on Forge days, and gold keys. It's fun to see other people's luck and keeps people engaged. Oh, and the pet heart things. Okay. What are some challenges your alliance faces or runs into when it comes to managing so many players? Drama queens. Since we are a smaller alliance, we're like family. Our larger alliances don't feel like family. Larger alliances, we're just a number to add to their T5 list. Making everyone happy, keep everyone satisfied, and make them know the leadership is caring for them. At the same time, keep town hall meetings and inform them about long-term plans and motivate them to stay active and keep with tram effort. Komodo crying all season. Guys, trolls, man. Check the activity. The update we had this season helped a lot, where you can see when a member was last online. Probably getting people to listen to call-outs is the biggest challenge. There are always those who do not follow instructions or who answer green on polls, but do the opposite, whether they can show up to a Behemoth raid, for example, but with large member amounts, it is difficult to keep track of this stuff and is either forgotten or takes hours of donated time from a leader. Activity rate, unable to control players during war. A leader must have the ability to drag the members' troops when needed during war. Honestly, with so many languages and cultures, sometimes small jokes or comments can get out of hand, and it's very hard to handle as we don't fully understand all cultures, so on. Can't really see ways through it, but we try to improve to be inclusive of all. Having to explain things over and over when players don't read our markers or decrees, the secondary alliances fall short and are left behind in some areas. It's hard to find enough people to help lead everything. Very time-consuming for those who do. Listen, man, leading and managing alliances is a thankless job in the truest sense of the word. Remembering everyone, people burn out, people disappear, raid attendance is poor sometimes, which demotivates and snowballs into next raid attendance being poor. Lack of PvP makes people bored. This season the issue was build past so many chokes and dead ends on the map made it hard for 3 alliances to feel included in plans as we build around the map. Only being able to have one active union makes things tricky as well. It would be nice to set up shared chats between alliances. Also, only being able to have 10 pings for an entire alliance is frustrating, especially when setting up pings for stones and merit trade areas, etc. Take up pings in order to be easy for players to find. I wonder if they mean markers. Grudges between players, sometimes hard to deal or manage. Heated discussions, headache, and super people. Of the active, we would like to see how long they've been active. If they actually participate on the event, we would like to have an option to see that. trying to keep them engaged with the game during boring seasons. The only challenge that we have as an alliance is the server capacity per season. They should increase it. It's hard to keep all groups of players within the alliance happy. Everyone has opinions on how the alliance should be ran, and sometimes different groups have polar opposite needs in terms of time zones, event times, dead weight, lacking of voice chat, VC, and activity impossible to make everyone happy. It is hard to track activity and contribute and the contribution of each player in order to make decisions with regards to alliance development. A lot of manual data export and entry needed, and tons of spreadsheet required to do this on a regular basis. Training people to fight in war and Behemoths, a lot of people surprisingly make such bad decisions or make mistakes, which should only be expected in Season 1. People get bored so fast, a lot of players quit the game. The main thing for us is participation, especially when split across time zones. It is way too time consuming for just 8 plus 1 people to a truly active 200-member alliance should have at least 12 to 14 officers, especially during war times. They aren't all listening and reading mails. Not enough space to have the people you want or do have 2 teams in a server. Okay, Roots of War. On average, how would you rate the matchmaking in ROW, with 1 being poor and 10 being great? And I think, again, you're kind of seeing a trend here of more of the vote being on like the 5 or less side, and a little bit less of that being on the 6 and larger side. How does your alliance prioritize ROW signups? Power, merits, first come, first serve. First 3 options, good diversity. Being able to listen to Discord calls, power, skill, brain. Lets whoever wants to sign up, sign up. Power, knowledge, and PvP skills. Top T5 skilled members go first, then rest 30% minimum is free to join. First sign up at Discord, first gets this place. Medium, I don't really do much ROW. I personally make the row roster every time, prioritize not only power but activity throughout the rest of the game, and of course only people who select on the poll that they can make it there and who I know from experience are telling the truth and can be relied upon to show up. Also, we make multiple row teams and send the second to a farm alliance, which is sad but needed. I understand. It'd be nice if that wasn't the case. As we have several farms and academies, we send all members that want to participate in a row to those places, plus the main alliance. That way, everyone has the right to participate. Through Discord confirmations, we try to rotate players so they all can equally earn golden heads to whomever wants to participate. Well, I like that. That's nice. We have our core players who run rallies, and we have a lottery system to determine the rest. Power, activity, and the capacity of following directives. People who will show up consistently. We have a dedicated leadership member who painstakingly tracks things through. Spreadsheets to try and be fair. Merits, power, and availability. People that actually show up, power, troops, activity. I have a team that organizes our OW signups. I think they base it on power and availability. It's basically always the same core roster, active T5s and strong T4s. Also those who always show up. High, activity-based. Highly, we run 2 teams. First team, top 10. Second team, top 30. Power level, we always sign up for row, but sometimes do not enter the row field if we are actively fighting in war. On Dicker, I'm not sure what that is. For us, it's primarily about turning up. We just want everyone to sign and show up. First come, first serve. Don't get the question. Power / who can use Discord time zone. Have to do 30 and not 40 as you get matched with Alliance Way Strong activity, weekly performance. Okay. What do you like about row? Rewards. It's a 1v1. They can't gang up and outnumber us. I don't like row. Small scale PvP and objective based like MMOs. Everything PvP event. I never played row myself. We sign up the strongest, and I'm not one of them. I don't play it anymore. I think it's a super fun event, and the ability to go all out in a unique map with a totally new point system, and all your troops heal at the end where the teams are fair. This is one of the most fun things in the game. Give lots of rewards. I think it's a really good point to emphasize on. Like the event, even Battleground, and chance to show true tactics, that it's fun to fight for a while, for a whole hour against other alliances. Lots of fighting with no consequences, losing troops aside of the row. If we get lucky matchmaking, we can flame our competitors without words. They speak, we act. Decent rewards. I find this event to be such a logistical nightmare that I personally have only ever participated once, and it was an awful experience since the odds were so heavily stacked against us. Since slots are so limited, I opt to allow others in the alliance to participate in my place. Golden shards, gold heads, find alliance across server. It's a fun game. The reward, it's loads of fun. You don't fill your hospital. It's an event where you get all the people in VC. Teamwork and rewards. Don't really enjoy it. Our alliance prioritizes it and highly always looks forward to it. Very interesting game mode combination of capture the flag, capture buildings, and defend and open PvP. The rewards, everything. The chance to battle with others, particularly when you might be in a part of the season where it's very quiet. I only wish that you could get merits from it. General gameplay, needing new strategy, everything but matchmaking. We can improve our war tactics a bit more. It can be good downtime to fight with everything you have with no downside. The concept is very nice. Something for your alliance to do with decent rewards. A set time activity of your choosing. All the commander's healing process is cool. It's also cool, and once it's over, everything resets. Would you like to be able to spectate other ROW matches outside of your alliance? 79% of the vote said yes. That's pretty clear. And then we have 13% said maybe, with only 7% saying no. Would you like to see custom lobbies for ROW so you can practice against no one, AI, or even schedule scrimmages against other row teams? 75% of the vote said yes. I mean, I think this is a pretty much a layup. 12% said maybe, with 10% saying no. Well, I would like to see many game modes like ROW that can be scheduled by leaders to face teams with other servers. Yeah. What would you like to see removed, changed, or added to row? It would be great if officers set up city placements. It's a pain in the ass at the moment. Ability to assign Beastmaster if the one assigned doesn't make it. Better matchmaking or less time zones so higher power alliances have a better chance of matching. Good point. Weekly event. Practice would be very nice. Is also an activity. The whole thing needs rebalance. We really need to be able to make multiple teams for one alliance, because sending out 2 teams to farm alliances is just so inconvenient. And there is no way to stop that. So I would much prefer the devs would just make it simple and people could join different teams to get all the rewards. I think that's a good point. Nothing. Both parties should be able to see troops of enemy in location. It seems to have an upper limit on player matchmaking. Once players are around 90 million, they count to the same matchmaking rating, even if 200 million plus. Please work increasing the true matchmaking of each player. The matchmaking also needs work. We have come against 1.5 to 2 billion more power, sometimes perhaps off a day. Change for them if they have a better fit they can choose to take. Maybe with this, have signups be a week before, and then the week you offer schedule changes. More prep time is always good. I think the limitation of only 40 players could be helped too. Having to send to second and third alliance for rewards is frustrating. Maybe even if you don't participate, you get the same head rewards, but add some other unique thing for participation, accolades for players and alliances, skins, boulders, etc. Same, maybe change the length of how long Behemoths are able to be controlled, as Behemoths should be used to push, not just do a lot of damage for a long time. They need a ranking system that isn't based on power, but wins losses. The more you win, the harder teams you are matched with. If a close to balanced matchmaking can't be done due to schedule, with the consent of leaders, adjust the time so there can be a fight, not just R4 or 5 holding back their players from the enemy spawn. Stop matching real alliances against farm alliances that don't even join the match. Time slots are too restrictive. The event should set up an option for players to opt in for their availability instead of polling. A separate chat should be used for row participants while they're in a row. A way to sort players into teams groups visually, like with markers, so plans can be executed more strategically. I like that. It's actually nice. Matchmaking overhaul. Most alliance keep getting war with an active alliance. I think they should somehow get in a fight with an active alliance so it's more fun. I would add being able to do multiple ROW in the same alliances besides only the 30+10 custom lobbies for row, so you can practice against no one and how your own. Add the feature of people being able to watch your match. Definitely resource healing and the ability for Behemoths to interrupt the capture of the lifestone. For as long as the Behemoth is alive, nobody can grab it. March times are kind of long. Give a structure some march speed buff. More maps. I would need to think about it. Max troop counts or stamina. Some way to balance players over 100 mil plus. Increase player limit per alliance. Different maps. Randomized objectives. Matchmaking rating needs improvement. ROW team constantly faces either farm alliances with only 1 to 5 people showing up, or farm alliances where full T5s have been sent for their own ROW in an additional shell, making more rallies on the same building. General, we're finally near the end. We're at an hour and 40 minutes. Thank you for hanging in there. Would you like to see all heroes eventually make their way to the tavern's gold chest as an addition and after a period of time from their release, even if they start out paywall gated or in premium currency events? 75% of the vote says yes. 12% says maybe, with only 6% saying no. Someone said it should already be happening. Mad and Kanara should be in for us now, honestly. And in B2, Frey and Sin should also be joining. Free to play deserve the chance to start earning them too. Same with older artifacts, Rattlespear, Inferno. I get your worry of saving keys as we progress and hit these seasons. Make new keys, T1 gold keys, hero pool for T1, and back to S2, hero pool back. Not all the SLD heroes, not, but Wheel and others, yes. I think after a season finishes, the heroes from this season prior should be added. My gold keys are pretty much useless now with all the S1 Legendary and Epic Heroes Awakened. Yeah, I think it's a good point. How would you rate the communication from the developers thus far? This actually isn't... I don't think this is like that bad, really. This is kind of breaking even if this leans a little bit more on the lower side, right? I still think you have a healthy enough of like 5, 6s, and 7s here in the middle that probably balance this out probably somewhere around 5, give or take. But again, it isn't like overwhelmingly like 8s, 9s, and 10s, right? Which you're probably looking a little bit more at. And then it's like 6 and 7s before you kind of get to the 5, and then the 4s, 3s, and the 2 and 1s. So this is potentially a little bit kind of average. I feel like, again, this probably rounds out to somewhere around 5, give or take. But I think it shows that there are opportunities where communication can be improved. Would you like to see the limit on gem gathering removed? 74% of the vote says yes. 13% of the vote says no, with 7% of the vote saying maybe. I never farm gems, so no comment. Yes, why is this a thing? Anything you would like to see removed and why? Spire blocking, it's so cancer. The drama. Long-range archer talent because it really screwed up the flow of battle, and this is coming from an archer main. Everyone just runs away and doesn't push anymore. The last item in policy must be removed. No idea at the moment, I'm sure. Road length capacity. Semi-protected gates. They force the game to a stalemate and make it boring. Useless events that have, okay, everything's good now. Stamina increased policy. I thought the whole stamina system was meant to prevent whales from sending out abysmal amount of troops to just trade into weaker players, force big players to be more conservative with their troops and actually control their marches instead of just trading them to deplete the enemy as a win condition. People, that we kick people from server. So done. Remove the need to use gems to switch talent builds. As we get more diverse playstyles and in a situation-based encounters, we will have heroes that will play dual purpose, i.e. PvP build, garrison rally build, and having to consistently switch talents builds at the cost of 1,000 gems each time will prove expensive throughout the course of a season. I agree there. Purple chest darklings, guards auto-attacking, and any flyers flying over them should be made that these guards only attack if they are hit once. Choke points and turrets, mentioned cursed swords policy. They need to remove a bit more choke points. Seasonal talent, archer range, the only weakness to archers before was that they didn't have enough long range. Now that only weakness was removed. It removes class identity and makes archers the clearest cut best troop type. Turrets, crucible, a waste of troops for so few rewards. Behemoth, capture, enter a pass into the next zone should be removed. Ranged marksman, scholar, being able to appoint officers because they can appoint themselves. Saintless, which permits them to delete alliance building. Scholar title is frequently requested by alliance members who want to go through some long researches. You never know what could happen next. Or remove the ability of scholar to appoint saintess. Okay. Anything you would like to see changed? I think we have, these are the last two right now. We're at about an hour 45. Migration feature. Migration should show make things more even for each zone. For example, some zones are faster to build towards their objectives, so it's easier to set defensive positions and hold, especially since alliance forces can be placed whenever and wherever they want. Add 3 alliances as a union. 2 is not enough as the game grows. The drama, not all. It's always the drama. All the good things evolve as I expected. Better map flow. Nothing, as mentioned before, the gem gathering limit. I asked my officers for their opinions. Here are the results. Break down unusable speed-ups. Break down unusable legendary heads. Feed the lower players more rewards so people get a chance and are willing to play the game. Make tower building take the same time no matter the level in fortification. It seems silly to have every alliance stop at 1 for an advantage. Season pacing is getting silly. Make the mid-game longer. People are mad at waiting to the end of the season, not during the season when there is battles. The current layout causes each alliance to fight once, declare a victor, and find a new path or risk not having time be prepared for the new season. Specific task: Behemoths, destroying, buffing, healing, make them better in one specific area. When healing troops in a hospital, heal all types equally or prioritized most severely wounded would be nice instead of it just being what is it cast first every time, making me have to do math and shit. Fix it to where chasing cavalry with other cavalry will attack instead of doing that weird 2-step behind the fleeing march. Perhaps they hit the second they meet for the first auto attack. When teleporting your castle, make it so Darkling marches and Beast just die when you drop instead of blocking you because FFS, they're in the way every single time. Increase the limit of the amount of R4s an alliance can have so we don't have to juggle between who's online. Either increase it or unlock the limit. Okay, that was a lot. And then we get to the last question of the survey, which finally is anything you would like to see added and why. King system to improve migration. Union markers so that we can work better as a union and coordinate better between us. The traumaless people. I will let you know. I will let you wow me. Offensive structures instead of only defensive. I asked my officers. Oh, here it is. Give us a dwarf faction, T6 workhorses, more line structures, hospitals, offensive peace towers, bridges. Add an improvement to donation at the end. That is somewhat some random tiny improvement. 1% gather speed, and it costs 1 million to upgrade, and scales with each additional upgrade. 2 million, 3 million. 5th real gathering hero, alliance-based behemoths. Alliance researches them rather than claiming dens. Oh, interesting. Alliance-based skills, cooldowns, group teleports, small buffs, either buff on or off territory, create multiple resource nodes. Interesting. More event that free-to-play low spend can win or get with big rewards, more heroes to the chest, keys, better artifacts to regular keys, support hero that heals, big heals. Let us accept rare alliance gifts with one effing button press, no matter how many there are for starters. Frame for merits monger, 100 million merits, 50 million merits, 10 minutes. Oh, I like that. It's actually nice. I just want to see new features that make the game more fun. Behemoth area management system. Players apply to the arena, and R5 or Behemoth masters approve them. Once approved, they teleport to the arena. A caravan-style Behemoth, no fighting abilities and not locked to a tower, but can start multiple legions around fast. A way to spend obsolete currency once a player accomplishes everything that currency can be used for. VIP, legendary tokens, Awakened Heroes, research speed-ups, building speed-ups, all serve no value past a certain point. Buildable structures. More buildable structures, bridges, ramps. It can really enhance potential strategy and approaches to fights. More events, more Behemoth each season. The things previously asked to the feature that you'll be able to see in the rankings of the other server. Skill lock system, where just allow us to pick which skill gets upgraded. Call of Dragons is copying. Okay, auto healing mode for hospital. If you go into elixir production, your hospital can fill in 6 hours. Either add more base capacity or an auto healing system. Turn 8-hour shields into 12 hours. I don't want them to set an alarm to wake up to check, and my account is being rallied. Depending on how tired I am, I will sleep anywhere from 79 hours. Is it too much to ask that the basic city shield allows people to sleep soundly? More master behemoths, more events, adding VC for Alliance and Union. That's nice in-game. More heroes, more events. Not sure at this time. I might also add additional strain and load on the server for fights. That could factor into more lagging. I don't know if that would apply or not, but just kind of a general thought. Ability for leaders to export Alliance data of members' activity into a raw CSV file so we can use that to better manage Alliance development. Current process is tedious and time-consuming, making it hard to manage big alliances. Once again, this is not the first time this has been recommended. I think it's a great point. And would love to see something like this in the game. A feature when doing breaking through the event, the caravan event, if a legion taps escort on the caravan, then it should make that legion unable to attack darklings, war pets, etc., since a lot of people mix up the bandits and darklings because they look alike. The governor or the king create more competitive game. Mentioned it previously, offensive mechanisms for wars like the ability to build a bridge or make a tunnel through mountains, limited to one at a time, plus take time to make it, plus cooldown because it is way too hard to push the enemy out of defensive point. More open field tactics or possibilities to find the open field. Home Kingdom and Global Migration to have a place to settle down KVK. Union teams should be able to see each other's markers on the field. Let us build temporary bridges or tunnels, a bit of a practice tool for multiple areas. Sounds like a useful addition. For an example, pre-placing tower outlines to plan towers a bit easier, something like ROW practice matches, which was talked about earlier in this question, and basically any other place where you can think of a practice tool would come in handy. Turret auto attack option. Home Kingdoms would need an option to trade in legendary hero tokens that are unneeded, whether it was like 3 normal heads for 1 universal one or something like that. Additionally, an option to trade in building and research speedos would be greatly appreciated. King to deny accept access to kingdoms, like you said above. Adding more heroes to gold keys would be amazing for everyone. Nothing major. New faction with possible new troop type, i.e. siege. Okay, that is where we're going to stop. Again, I want to say thank you so much if you are still rocking with us. This video was long because I wanted to try and read and give you guys as many answers as possible. Also because I will be adding timestamps as well, which probably would have been better for me to send at the beginning. And again, remember, I will be adding this sheet. If you have made it here to the end, I will congratulate you. I'm super tired. It's a little past midnight right now. I wasn't expecting for this video to be that long, but now that I realized there was a lot of questions, and I wanted to make sure that we at least read you about half of the answers for the written ones, and obviously with the polls, we were able to go through those a little bit faster. And yeah, again, I will post this on my Discord at least 24 hours after this video has been up, so you'll be able to find that on that CoD data stats that we showed you a little bit earlier on in the video. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Number one, do you like this style of questionnaire where we ask top and active alliance leaders across the game? Do you want to see more of this? Number two, what do you think about some of the answers for some of the questions? And then number three, what do you think about us polling the Kingsguard again on the Home Kingdom migration, etc. changes that were announced a couple days ago? Let me know anything and everything down below. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.